Hello and welcome to another Monday Morning Pastor, where we look at some of the things we talked about yesterday in church and share with you. And when I was a young Christian, a new Christian back in the early 1980s, it seems like the church abounded with predictions about the return of Jesus Christ, what we call the second coming of Jesus. I mean, there were predictions everywhere. Do you remember that? And I thought about it. I think some of the reasons why were because of contemporary events. You might remember Russia, the Soviet Union, was aggressively gobbling up land, and some Bible scholars suggest that the country or the nation of Gog or Magog is to be identified with Russia. There was also the oil embargo. You remember the price of gasoline went up like crazy, and so suddenly our attention was on the Middle Eastern states, which contributed to, end time speculation. Along with that was the resurgence, the rebirth of Israel as a nation in 1948 after almost 2 millennia. Those types of things, I think, inspired people to predict the end and the coming of Jesus Christ. Now, I looked this up. There is a great Wikipedia article, and you can look it up, predictions of the second coming, and it is I'm looking at it now, it is some 12 pages long, and people, Christians, scholars, so-called scholars, that have been predicting the coming of Jesus Christ for 2,000 years, even though Jesus says no one knows the hour. Not even the angels. No one knows the hour of his next coming. But nonetheless, people predict. I'm looking at some of those predictions now. They go back to a prediction from Irenaeus to about Jesus coming back in 500 AD. You remember Y2K? The year 2000, Y2K. Y stands for year. 2 stands for 2, and then K stands for 1,000. Well, there is a Y1K, and there is prediction that Jesus would come back in the year 1000. That makes sense. Predictions for just a bunch of years here: 1260, 1370, 1504. My goodness gracious, it goes on. The Shakers predicted that Jesus would come back in 1770. John Wesley predicted 1836. There's a denomination called the Adventists, and their founder is William Miller, and I understand that he predicted 1844. The Watchtower Group, also called Jehovah's Witnesses, it looks like they had a couple predictions, 1874, 1914, and I mean no disrespect, there may be different ways of looking at those predictions. It goes on and on and on. The ones I like are more contemporary. You might remember the Plain Truth and Herbert Armstrong. He predicted, it looks like 4 dates, 1935, 1943, 1972, 1975, and then getting closer to home, this is my favorite one. My favorite one because I walked into a bookstore in 1989 and I found this book. This titled book by a guy named Edgar Whisenant. Whisenant was an engineer for NASA. The title of his book, and again, the date's important. I found this book in 1989 in the discount bin for 35 cents. It was called 88 Reasons Why the Rapture Will Occur in 1988. And oddly enough, when that didn't happen, he wrote another book the next year, 89 Reasons Why the Rapture Will Be in 1989. So these things have been going on for a long time, these predictions about the end. This is a good one. Jean Dixon. Jean Dixon, she reportedly predicted John F. Kennedy's assassination. She predicted that Jesus would come back in 2020. I forget when she died. I think she died in the 90s, but when she passed away on her deathbed, she is reported to have said, "I knew that this would happen." So anyway, people have been predicting for a long time, even though the scriptures, I believe, exhort us not to. Yesterday we looked in church at 1 Thessalonians chapter 5. Let me read a few words to you. For you yourselves are fully aware that the day of the Lord. Now, to be fair, people debate what that phrase means, the day of the Lord. Is it referring to final judgment? Is it referring to resurrection of the saints or the lost? Or is it referring to Jesus' second coming? I tend to think those things are all rather grouped together as one large significant event. You don't have to believe that, but he says this. You yourselves have become fully aware that the day of the Lord will come like a thief in the night. And while people are saying there's peace and security, then sudden destruction will come upon them as labor pains come upon a pregnant woman. And they will not escape. But you are not in darkness, brothers, for that day to surprise you like a thief. So these end events, and of course the coming of Jesus Christ, the second coming, something that churches universally believe in, though the details are varied among different denominations, will come like what? A thief. We don't know when thieves are coming. Thieves don't leave a post-it pad at your front door saying, by the way, tonight I'm going to come rob your house. They just simply don't do it. They don't send you a text that says, by the way, I'm going to steal your car today. They come unexpectedly, and that's the point. The point is we simply don't know, but we are to live our lives as if it could happen at any time, imminently. Let me read a final passage for us today that I think helps us to consider how we live our lives as we expect him to come. And he assuredly will come. Just as assuredly he came the first time and was raised from the dead. In the same way, in the book of Acts, it tells us he will return to us. So the book of Titus. I'm in the book of Titus chapter 2 at verse 11, and it says this. For the grace of God has appeared that offers salvation to all people. Wow, that's beautiful. God's invitation is to everybody. The Bible tells us regardless of gender, regardless of race, regardless of color, whatever, age, God's salvation has appeared to everyone. Verse 12, it teaches us to say no to ungodliness and worldly passions and to live self-controlled, upright, and godly lives in this present age while we wait for the blessed hope, which is the appearing of the glory of our great God and Savior, Jesus Christ, who gave himself to redeem us from all wickedness and to purify for himself a people that are his very own, eager to do what is good. So the fact of the belief and the conviction that Jesus is coming back, again, it's one of the most compelling, dominant themes of the New Testament, that he's coming back, should motivate us to live our lives in such a way as if he could show up at any time like a thief in the night. Thank you for watching and have a great week.